Okay, so like I said, we're just working with some more complex figures with more information, okay? Same topic, those same skills as what we've been doing yesterday, okay? So, example 3, it wants us to find x and y, so I'm going to make sure I do both parts here. Now, remember we talked about yesterday, when you have two variables in your diagram, in your problem, okay, you can't set up an equation with x and y in it because then you can't solve for either one. So you want to look at, out of this information, okay, do I have two items that have x or do I have two items that have y? Yeah, you have two items that have x, right? So these are the ones that I want to start by solving with, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this angle and this angle here and try to figure out how those are related. Now, if I need to, I can kind of cover up any unnecessary information. But if I look at what transversal these are both on, I see this is the transversal, right? And then these are the parallel lines that they are in between. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay, so now that I'm looking at this transversal, this set of parallel lines, what type of angles are those? Are they inside or are they outside? Inside. Same side or alternate sides? Okay, so they are alternate interior angles, right? Okay, what do we know about alternate interior angles? They're congruent. Okay, so let's go ahead and set up our equation. So we're going to make them equal. 10x plus 14 equals 12x. Okay, and then we're just going to solve this. So I'll move the 10x to the other side. Okay, and we get 14 is equal to 2x. And so now what's our value of x going to be? Okay, x is going to be 7, okay? So now, that's the first thing, was solving for x. Okay, now, how am I going to go about solving for y? Well, remember, if I set up an equation like with these two or with these two, I can't solve for y if I have x in the equation. So I need to replace the x with what? 7. Now, which angles do you want to use? Because we're going to for sure use this one. Do you want to use 12x or do you want to use 10x plus 14? 12x. Okay, so we're going to use this one. All right. So when I look at these two angles together, what kind of angles are those? Linear pair. Good. They're side by side, adjacent, making a straight line. Okay. What do you guys know about a linear pair? They add up to 180. Okay. So they are a linear pair. They're supplementary. Okay. And so we're going to go ahead and say 6y plus 18 plus what? Am I going to put 12x? No. What am I going to put here? 12 times 7. What is 12 times 7? 84. Does everyone understand where I'm getting 84 from? Because when I put 7 in here, 12 times 7 gives me 84, right? Okay? So, 6y plus 18 plus 84 equals 180. Now let's solve that, okay? So, we're going to go ahead and get 6y plus what? 102. Okay, now let's subtract. Okay, and divide. All right, what did you guys end up getting? 13. Okay, so now we went ahead and we found x and y, right? Two answers, because that's what it wanted me to do. Okay? How are you guys feeling about that? Okay? All right, can you guys try example number 4 in your groups right now? And we'll see how it goes, okay? Okay, so let's take a look at this one. Okay, what did you guys solve for first? X, okay? So when I was looking at the angles that are involved here in solving for x. Okay, what kind of angles were those to each other? Here's your transversal. Here's your two parallel lines. Okay, are they both inside? Are they both outside? No. Okay, one's inside, one's outside, but are they corresponding? Are these two angles corresponding? Like if I drew my box of 4, are they in the same spot? No. Okay, they're not corresponding. Okay, so maybe what I can do is I can take a look at one of these angles and see, like, choose another angle that it is corresponding with, or that it is like congruent with because of one reason or the other that I know, and replace a missing angle with that. Okay, this is important that you guys watch and listen to this, okay, because if you don't do this extra step, then you probably get the whole thing wrong. Okay, so look at 3x. I could pick that 3x is corresponding with this angle right here, right? Are these corresponding angles? Is that true? Okay, I could also say it's alternate interior with this one right here, right? And then these are congruent, right? So it's congruent with this one, and it's also congruent with this one, because this one here is its corresponding angle, and this one here is its alternate interior angle. Which one do you guys want me to relabel? The corresponding angle? Okay, so I'm going to label this one's also 3x. Okay? Now that I have this one labeled, what do I know about these two together right here? They're a linear pair. What do I know about linear pairs? They're supplementary. They add up to 180. So how am I going to solve for x here? Add them and make them equal to what? 180. Okay? The reason I'm allowed to do that is because these are corresponding. So if this one's 3x, so is this one. Does that make sense there? So I had to do that extra step. Okay, now let's go ahead and solve. So I get 12x plus 12 equals 180. Okay, I'm going to subtract 12. So I get 12x equals what? 158? Is that right? No, 168. Is that right? Okay, 168. Okay, and now what are you going to do? Divide? Okay, can someone tell me what they get when they divide by 12? 14? Yeah. Okay. All right. So now that I've got 14 is my value for x, now how am I going to find y? Plug it in. Where do you guys want me to plug it in? Right here? Okay. So when I plug that in, what's 3 times 14? 42? Okay, so this angle is 42 degrees. So what do I know about these two angles right here? What kind of angles are those two? Are they making a straight line? Two adjacent angles making a straight line, linear pair, right? So what am I going to do with 4y minus 10 and 42? Yeah, I'm going to add it and make it equal to 180. Okay? Does that make sense how we got that part there? Okay, so now that we're going to go ahead and solve this, okay, how many times does 4y go into 148? Or 4 go into 148? What was it? 37. Okay. All right. Does that make sense how we found the y value there? Okay. How many of you were a little bit stuck on finding the x value on that one? Just curious. Okay. Does it make sense now that we went over how to find the x value? Okay. If you find that the angles aren't related, take one of them and relate it to a blank one. Okay. And then you can see what the relationship is there. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. And when you're taking, this one and relating it to something, you want to relate it to something it's congruent to, right? We wouldn't want to put 3x right here because these ones aren't congruent, okay? All right. Okay, let's look at our last problem type that we're going to be covering, okay? All right. In our last problem type, we're going to be drawing something called an auxiliary line. Can you guys highlight this? Okay. An auxiliary line is a line that we're adding to the problem to help us solve it. Okay. Otherwise, if we don't add this line, we wouldn't be able to solve the problem. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at example 5. It wants us to find angle 1. Okay, angle 1's kind of here. It's floating in space in like the middle of these two parallel lines, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do to help me find angle 1 is I'm going to draw something called an auxiliary line. Okay, so my auxiliary line is going to be parallel to the two lines that are already here. Okay, so I'm going to draw my auxiliary line through the point of this angle 1, and I'm going to make it parallel to the two lines that are already there. Okay, so my auxiliary line that I'm going to draw is going to look like this. Okay, can you guys draw that on your paper? And I'm going to make it parallel to the other two lines that are there. So I'm going to mark that it's parallel to the other two. Okay. All right. Okay, so now that I've drawn this auxiliary line, okay, I'm not really going to worry about angle 1 just right now. I'm just going to worry about filling in some things that I know are related, okay? So if I take a look at this transversal right here, this one, say I were to just extend it, this is my transversal, and these are my parallel lines, okay? I know that if this angle's 60, what is its alternate interior angle right here? This little tiny one right here. This one is how much? 60. So let's label this 60. Okay. Is that making sense why I labeled that 60? Okay. All right, now, if I take, for example, these two parallel lines, this one and this one, and make this my transversal. I know now I have a lot going on in this picture. But if I make this one the transversal, see this angle right here? Isn't this one alternate interior with 65? Aren't these two alternate interior right here? So what's the measure of this one right here? 65, right? These two are the same, right? They're congruent. Okay. So now, let's look back at angle 1. It's all covered up, but isn't this whole thing angle 1 right here? So what's the total degree measure for angle 1? It's this one plus this one. Well, how much is that? Yeah, what's 60 plus 65? What does that make? 125. Okay, so the measure of angle 1 is 125. Okay, so sometimes what I do is I draw this auxiliary line so that I can start relating some other things to help me find this missing angle. Okay, all right, so let's try one more here. Okay, everyone draw your auxiliary line on example 6. So where would you be drawing your auxiliary line? Through the point right here, and you're making it parallel to the lines that are already there, right? So like that. Okay. All right. Okay, now, if this angle here is 62, where is its alternate interior angle? Don't think about this bottom part, just think about the top part. It's right here, right? So this, ooh, bless you. So this one's 62. What is this little one right here? 62, right? Okay. Now, the other part that I would like to find is I would like to find this part right here, so then I could put these two together to make angle 2, right? So how much is this one right here? Is this one 144? No. Is it congruent to this one? No. Okay, are these two angles congruent angles? No, they're not. Okay, what kind of angles, though, are these two angles right here when they're between these parallel lines? Supplementary. Okay, so how do I find the measure for this one? Yeah, let's subtract from 180 to find it, okay? So what do you guys get when you subtract from 180 to find that one? 36, okay? So this one is now 36 degrees, okay? All right, now that we've got both of those two little ones, how big is the whole thing for angle 2? Because remember, angle 2 is that whole thing. It's all this together. So what do I get for the whole thing? 98, okay? So the measure of angle 2 is 98 degrees, okay? So for some of you who saw the first problem and you're like, oh, to find the missing angle, I just add those two. Well, it depends, because in this diagram, did we just add the two measures we were given to find the missing angle? No, right? So we have to actually look at the positioning of all this stuff relative to each other to then find, like, if it's congruent, if it's supplementary, and we use what we've been learning about those angle types to help us, okay? All right, are there questions on what we did here? Any questions about today's work? Okay. All right, so